Actors often joke that show business should be called the broke business. Us Weekly only writes about celebrities who've made it big enough to have massive homes, designer clothes, and swank personal lives. But most entertainment people actually struggle their whole careers to succeed in music, movies, or TV, only to end up as background artists, stand-ins, and piano men at their local pubs. Lucky for me and my family, my career started rolling at 4 years old and hasn't stopped since. In fact, it helped rescue us from being broke rather than caused it. I come from a long line of blue-collar folks who pride themselves on their hard-scrabble work ethic. Dad was a 20-year-old cab driver in Northport, New York, when he met my mom and got her a job as a cab dispatcher at the age of 16. 4 years later, when they got pregnant with me and decided to have a shotgun wedding in the backyard of my grandparents' house, I guess all that free love of the 70s came with some consequences, Dad had just started working with his brother Charlie, breeding clams and oysters at Charlie's shop on Long Island. Every night, Dad came home from work in his dirty t-shirts and cut-off jean shorts, with grime under his fingernails and smelling like low tide. But Mom didn't mind at all. She knew what it was like to pound the pavement too, since she occasionally sold trippy tie-dyed baby tees at street fairs. And after I was born, spent the next 10 years either pregnant or breastfeeding my siblings, Trisha, Elizabeth, Brian, and Emily, all while managing our acting gigs. Mom and Dad were also following in their parents' footsteps. Dad's mom, Ethel, worked as a phone operator to support her 4 children when her husband died just weeks after my dad was born. And my mom's father was a plumber, willing to build or fix anything for anyone to help support his wife and kids. So from a young age, I was aware that you had to work hard to pay for the things you needed or wanted, and for what your family needed or wanted too. My parents never let on about any financial stress or struggles when I was young, though times were hard with a baseball team-sized family and seasonal careers at best. In fact, my mom almost didn't take me to my callback for Splashy, my first acting gig, because the $30 train ticket was too expensive. She changed her mind when my manager convinced her I'd make good money if I got the part. But I always felt secure, since we had a house, a car, and food on the table. I never had a reason to feel that other people's lives were better than mine. My parents did a good job helping us feel happy and safe, so I'd have had to look really close to see how frighteningly broke we were, though the signs were there. For instance, every night Dad dropped his pocket change into a 5-gallon water jug in his closet, hoping to save up for his dream boat, a Bertram yacht. Mom routinely dumped it out to give us milk money and pay the neighbor to cut the lawn. The jug never got more than a quarter full. We ate simple homemade meals, mostly made with clams, since Dad brought them home from work for free. To this day, Anthony Bourdain himself couldn't convince Mom to touch a slimy mollusk in any recipe. Even at Christmas, when my siblings and I made really long wish lists, thinking Santa was our ticket to rake it in, we were fed the super confusing line, pick 5 things Mommy has to pay Santa for the presents. But it really wasn't until the owner of my dance school called me out for wearing torn ballet tights for the 3rd day in a row in front of all the other girls in their new dance skin wardrobes that I realized how bad things were and how upset it could make me. Her words stung, especially since I took dancing very seriously and didn't want to be judged for anything but my skill. At least we were able to pay for my classes, and when they exceeded our family spending limit, this same owner let me student teach the 4-year-olds on Saturdays to pay for an extra day of point lessons. The little ballerinas called me Miss Melissa back then, as I taught them to jeté across the studio. I was only 10 years old. Acting and modeling were mainly how I contributed to the family pot, though it never felt like work. To this day, I have no clue about how much money I made on a commercial, guest star role, or any other gig until well into my Clarissa years. All I remember is that at an early age, I booked a lot of jobs, partly because Mom rewarded me with toys when I did. By the end of my 8-year commercial acting gig when I was 12 years old, which nicely corresponded with the age I outgrew plastic figurines, I'd acquired over 100 Barbies, plus dozens of strawberry shortcakes and a bunch of My Little Ponies. Holidays may not have been lucrative, but working sure was. While I loved the idea of winning a job, I never worried too much about losing it, for money reasons or otherwise. I liked acting like a goof during auditions, letting nice women do my hair and makeup, and then shooting the commercial, TV show, or movie with encouraging and creative people. Some of my favorite shoots were also very kid-centric and involved junk food, which helped, like a Twinkies commercial at 7 years old and a Lifesavers fruit flavor spot at 11. In this last one, I played paddleball and checkers with giant Lifesavers and kids I knew from the audition scene. Nobody you'd know unless you followed kids' commercials. We did this where...
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.